Donald Trump has lost the Senate, and it's about to lose him his presidency already. Now, Donald Trump is on his way to lame duck status because these midterms are going to be a wipeout for Republicans. But he decided to accelerate that process as his majority in the House grows slimmer every day due to resignations. And now, the Senate, it looks like he has no power because they've all turned on him. Yes, more Republicans are turning on Trump, and this time, it's because of his politically motivated attacks against Jerome Powell. We're gonna get into it all. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video. And if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button, because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into that Republican promising to block Donald Trump's powers, stop his presidency because of the announcement that Powell made last night, I want to start with the Democratic senator who set the stakes, and it was Senator Mark Warner right here.
Ordered, or at least people around him have taken it upon themselves to carry out on his behalf. Give us your thoughts as to, this is an expansion of that, but also what it does mean actually for the nation's economy, sort of the stability of, so much is based on the Fed being an independent entity. If that suddenly is even the perception of not the case anymore, that could do real damage.
Absolutely. The stability of the dollar, the stability of our economy. We are the rock. And a lot of that is due to the independence of the Fed. And the Fed's job is to set interest rates based on fact, not based on political whims. We'll see what the markets do this morning, but we are putting so much in jeopardy. We're putting our reputation as a reliable partner when we think about attacking a fellow NATO member. We've got literally 20% of our fleet off the coast of Venezuela trying to maintain a blockade, and it will take 2 to 3 years to get the Venezuelan oil production back up. Is our 20% of the fleet going to stay there for the next 2 years? A lot of those ships are deployed from Norfolk and my state. We've got the questions in the Middle East. This seems to be chaos on steroids. None of this is about bringing costs down. None of this is about dealing with the healthcare crisis in our country. And we're starting to see, we saw 4 or 5 Republicans break last week on the Venezuela effort. We saw 17, I believe, break on healthcare. Is there finally going to be a level of bipartisan?
This is obviously a politically motivated attack. As all things Donald Trump does are, that's just the Donald Trump presidency. Right now, we are living under a gangster state where they believe that intimidation is the only way to get anything done, which is why I suggest to Democrats start intimidating Republicans, telling them you will be holding them accountable. You will be bringing legal action. It is not enough to just tell Pam Bondi she is violating the Epstein Transparency Act. We need to lay out the case of what is going to happen to her when we are in charge. And the same should be true for everyone at the DOJ and everyone engaged in this criminal behavior. But nonetheless, what we have to communicate is that these people are living and operating under a gangster state in which they think that Donald Trump is a mob boss who can do whatever he wants. And that would be one thing if the economy was doing well. It is not. And it is because of the gangster state that Donald Trump is running. It is because of the tariffs he uses to sway the markets and enrich himself. It is because of his attacks on Jerome Powell, which are blowing up in his face. And they're blowing up in his face because he telegraphed them so long ago.
Before the election, it was too early because that would have helped. That was supposed to help get her elected. It had no impact. We won all 7 swing states. But no. We're thinking about bringing a suit against Powell for incompetence. Because think of it, these aren't outstanding buildings. These are small buildings. He's at $4 billion more. It's going to end up costing more than $4 billion. $4 billion. It's the highest price of construction. Again, Democrats, highest price of construction per square foot in the history of the world. There's never been. Gorgeous monuments are built for a much smaller price. So we're thinking about bringing a gross incompetence, what's called gross incompetence lawsuit. It's gross incompetence against Powell. And it was his baby. And the guy's just incompetent. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. He's just a very incompetent man. But we're going to probably bring a lawsuit against him.
Donald Trump is politically motivated to go after Jerome Powell. And I am not a Jerome Powell fan by any means. This feels very much like a thanking James Comey, right? I'm not I'm not the biggest James Comey career advocate, and I certainly do not want to throw him a parade for what he has done in the past. But currently, he's standing up to Trump, and he won, and he's winning. And Jerome Powell will as well, because the money is backing him. And Donald Trump can believe that his cult is pretty strong. And it is. But the money will always wash you out. The money will always win. And it is the reason Trump has not been able to yet fire John Powell, and why he won't be able to. Because what it would do to the markets would be catastrophic. And Donald Trump, as dumb as he is, at least understands that, or his stooges do. But this is the reason why Republican senators are now coming out against Donald Trump and taking real action to limit his power in a way he didn't expect. Senate Republicans says independence and credibility of DOJ is now in question after Powell probe Senator Tom Tillis said the criminal investigation into Fed Chair Jerome Powell has called the independence and credibility of the Justice Department under Donald Trump into question following the president's consistent criticism of Powell's leadership. Till has posted the following on Twitter last night. If there were any remaining doubt whether advisors within the Trump administration are actively pushing to end the independence of the Federal Reserve, there should now be none. It is now the independence and credibility of the DOJ that are in question. I will oppose the confirmation of any nominee for the Fed, including the upcoming Fed chair vacancy, until this legal matter is fully resolved. He made his remarks after the New York Times reported Powell was facing a criminal investigation over the multi-year renovation of the Fed building. Now, Donald Trump, who has bankrupted casinos, who has bankrupted hotels, the first person to ever bankrupt the Plaza Hotel, and it hasn't happened since, should understand that some construction projects take more time than others. That's not what's going on with the Fed building. It's not running behind schedule by a decade. It's not over budget by $1 billion. I know I don't need to tell you all this because you follow and you're not in a cult. But I just have to say it is so blatant what Donald Trump is doing. And often that is the case. He likes to telegraph these things because he believes if it's out in the open and people see it, the media won't really report it the same, right? There's a difference between breaking a story wide open and it unfolding before your eyes. At least from the media perspective of what they think is more, there's more intrigue involved. And that's just the failures of how they operate. We don't do that when Donald Trump is committing crimes in public and doing so, because he thinks we'll just go up. Well, that's Trump. Trump being Trump. Yeah, we're still gonna cover it. And I'm not gonna just pass over it like it doesn't matter. But what Tom Tillis is doing, I got a remark on the fact that Tom Tillis said, I think now that the independence of the DOJ is in question now it is 2 million unreleased Epstein files later going after Adam Schiff and James Comey and Letitia James. Now, it's in question. So you haven't been living up to your highest ideal of how you think a public servant should act this entire time. But now that you know that you're not running for re-election, now you will tell me everything I need to know about you. But Tom Tillis, I am very happy with what he's doing right now. He's being oppositional to Trump on Venezuela. He is obviously combative when it comes to the Fed and trying to stop Donald Trump. It is very interesting where this might go. But on the topic of the fuck-up, Perry, that we are seeing of our economy, I think it is important to point out that Republicans right now are trying to have a big conversation about fraud. Well, Donald Trump himself is a fraud trying to bankrupt you and our entire country. And I think that we need to combat that with the same language that they do. Which is why I'm so glad Jasmine Crockett was talking about fraud in this clip right here.
We want to continue to just make it seem as if you are Somali, then somehow you are a fraudster. And this administration has decided that it wants a target on their backs. And so when my colleague, Ms. Randall, decided that she wanted to talk about the threats that are being made towards various Somali people, the reason she brought it up is because this particular side of the aisle has a tendency of, if one person does something bad, especially if they are an immigrant, then we are going to cast aside that entire community. So I wanted to level set, and I appreciate your honesty, because that's something that we very rarely get from my colleagues on the other side of the aisle. In fact, if we want to talk about fraud, I got a lot of fraud that we're going to talk about, because we're going to get into this, but I am very curious to hear. Let me ask you, Mr. Ballou, are you aware of allegations that $50,000 in taxpayer dollars have been given to someone that is currently sitting in this administration by the name of Tom Homan? Are you aware? Okay, that's a yes.
I am.
Okay. And last I checked, and correct me if I'm wrong if you have different information, but he was given that $50,000 in exchange for being able to provide contracts and kickbacks to people as soon as Trump was going to get into office. The DOJ was actually investigating this, but as soon as Trump got into office, last I checked, he actually said, go ahead and throw away that case.
So it was a Department of Justice investigation, and he accepted the money from an undercover FBI agent in cash.
Are you aware as to whether or not we ever got that $50,000 back?
I'm not.
Oh, okay. Are you aware as to whether or not this committee has decided to investigate that?
I'm not.
Donald Trump is the fraud. Donald Trump has seen himself and his family enrich themselves by billions of dollars. And it doesn't just come out of thin air, right? He's stealing that from you. That's the large-scale fraud, Qatari jet. Large-scale fraud, crypto crimes, large-scale fraud. That money is going to Donald Trump. When Jeff Bezos buys the Melania movie for $30 million, I don't really think a lot of people are going to be tuning into that one. Didn't see her at the Golden Globes. That $30 million that the Trump family gets is at the expense of billions in tax revenue that should be coming from Amazon and Jeff Bezos. That is you having billions stolen from you. So Donald Trump gets $30 million to me. That sounds like fraud. And I think we should say that we're going to on this show every single day. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. Leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. You can also support the show by going to follow me on Instagram at JD Casarella. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let him silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.